Welcome to the Jets UK podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andres Groves, and I'm joined by one of my co-hosts, Matthew Merrett. Matthew, what did we just see?
I don't know, Andres. I don't know. It's been about 2 hours since it's finished, and I'm still comprehending and computing it all. It's a great game. It feels like the game where the Jets finally joined the modern NFL, and they finally put together a 60-minute performance. They finally got it sorted. They were finally able to execute, which we haven't seen it done so far. And the most bizarre thing of all is it was a Mike White-led offense which did it. It is pretty insane viewing, it has to be said.
I mean,
there's a lot for us to break down, and I think we'll rattle through it now. But I think the thing just to start off with is just how exciting it is to kind of get that win. And this wasn't a win that anyone was expecting.
No.
I think we'd all kind of written this one off, and we're kind of looking for a couple of weeks where they kind of showed some fight before Zach got back. But to kind of come away with the win today is incredible.
Yeah, it was. It was such, the fact that it was such an unexpected. We went in just with very low expectations. Just logically, there wasn't a path to victory that you thought that was there. You just hoped for some good performances from the young players and something, some points to shout about, and move on to the next game and wait for Zach to come back. But what we saw was just something that was in part measures. It was frustrating in some points to see it being played out this way when we haven't seen it this way, and you're wondering why. There was some great defensive play that just got you absolutely hyped. So it just overall was just a mixed bag. Like I said, we're recording this a few hours after, which is normally a quicker turnaround. We're obviously the Thursday night football this week, we're on a quicker turnaround, and that's obviously also taking David out of the equation for this recap, which is a shame. But that's just the timing of things. We've got to get this out and like the team, we've got to move on to Indy soon. But first, my God, this was just such a fun game. It was like, it was just the points were going up. The chances, that the efficiency, the getting the ball into the playmakers' hands that we've been calling for so many weeks. We feel validated, right? We feel validated. Like, this is what they should have been doing all along, and it kind of gets you. We'll kick off with the offense, and I just want to kind of the opening thought I have had from the beginning of the game, and it stayed with me up to this point is, it really seems like they kind of gave Mike White a very much kind of a helping hand with the play calling that they just they weren't given to Wilson. They expected him to execute at a higher level, which is high praise. But at the same time, it's like, dude, he's a rookie, and there's been some struggles. After a few weeks, you would have thought, all right, we hoped for more, but it hasn't happened. So let's give him a few things to make things easier. And I just don't know why that wasn't given to Zach. I hope now that with this being shown that it works. If you implement this with Zach, with what he can do when it doesn't work out and what he can do, hopefully, he implements that. And for him to see that taking the check down, taking the easy option can be very successful if you've got players like Elijah Moore and Michael Carter doing what they have to do. So I think it goes for everyone to see that this game plan can work with the skill players that we have. And it was just great. So, what's your thoughts on offense generally?
Well, we talk a lot about players, rookies having like their breakout game or their welcome to the NFL game, and today almost felt like Mike LaFleur's welcome to the NFL breakout game. The way that he called the game, it felt like he'd finally caught up to how NFL offenses operate in 2021. I think there was a lot less runs on first down. Mike White dropped back 50 odd times. We were able to implement the screens, the short game really well, and that's kind of the execution aspect as much as anything. But the wide receivers were kind of cutting their breaks. The screen game was really, really running quite nicely. And we just finally ditched that 12 personnel. We ditched that kind of Wesco in the fullback. We kind of played with that kind of spread offense that we were looking for and have spoken about since week one on this podcast. I think so. Mike LaFleur kind of really, really well called game. And as you said, hopefully this can kind of be taken forward for when Zach comes back. Obviously, we can't talk about the offense without talking about the star of the day, which was Mike White's 400-yard performance in a pretty impressive thing. And I think there's two things which stood out to me. kind of his resilience. He was able to kind of bounce back, keep his head high, which must be under a lot of pressure as a backup quarterback making your first NFL start. He kind of knew what it was about and backed himself, and I think that was so impressive. And the second thing, which I think is super important as well, was just he was decisive with the ball. Good or bad, as we saw in that first half, he was decisive. He knew where he wanted to put it. He didn't overcomplicate things. And I think that kind of experience of sitting in NFL locker rooms for a bit longer than Zach has and kind of gaining that experience, being on the training field in terms of trusting what you see and making that decision, I think that difference was clear to see. And hopefully we can look back at this and it could be a really positive moment for Zach Wilson moving forward in terms of seeing how it can be played out and taking that forward. So Mike White is going home with a game ball, and he's going to have a great day. And we always say this, when it's a backup quarterback or someone less known, all it takes is one really good performance, and you could earn yourself job after job after job and kind of keep getting those paychecks in. So I think you have to be delighted for him.
Yeah.
Obviously, some of the praise on Twitter at the moment is a little bit over the top for my personal tasting, hinting at QB controversy and
no, already.
It's a Drew Bledsoe moment. I think we are not there yet.
Sake.
But
I've stayed off it for now. But yeah, I can imagine that's just the stuff. Yeah,
it's a great start for Mike White, and I think it'll be really interesting to see how he kind of continues against the Colts. A couple of other shout outs on offense I wanted to give. I think Elijah Vera Tucker is one of the best guards in the game right now. He is insane, and he won't get all of the coverage that some of the other guards do just because he plays for the New York Jets on a 2-5 team. But there's two touchdown plays, which you can just compare. The first one, for the first touchdown, Michael Carter's rushing touchdown, the way that he gets all the way out to the wide and is able to just set such a clean path for him. Tyler Croft and Denzel Mims also did excellent blocks on that touchdown, but Elijah Vera Tucker, the way that he gets out into space, lays the groundwork for that touchdown. And then you compare that to the second touchdown, the Braxton Berrios one. He's actually under a lot of pressure there because the Bengals send pressure, and he is so smooth in his footwork and the way that he just guides the defender around Mike White to create that passing lane. It's really impressive. So I'd recommend going back and watching those two touchdowns and just keeping your eyes on Elijah Vera Tucker, because he is so impressive and he is every bit worth what the Jets gave up to go and get him. I think it's looking like one of the steals of the draft, the fact that he fell to 14 now.
And with Mackay coming back in a few weeks,
it's going to be scary.
Yeah.
And then the last player I just wanted to highlight is Michael Carter.
Oh yeah, my player of the game. What
a steal!
Yeah.
He looks like he's going to be fourth round, and I think we were all quite surprised at the time when he fell that far, particularly some of the players who got taken before him. There's the Ohio State Trey Sermon. That's the one I'm looking for. Got taken before him, and it's just slightly bizarre. But our gain, I think, in the passing game, he's kind of flashed up to this point, but this was his most complete performance. And also in the running game, he just is so nifty, so shifty. It's really, really impressive to watch, and I'm delighted he got his touchdown. The only negative, I guess, is that I didn't start him in fantasy.
Oh, the same here. We both lost that.
That's on me, so I can't be too angry at him for that. But I think all round, the offense looked so much better today. So the execution, the coaching, the play calling, it was a level above from what we've seen for the last couple of weeks, particularly the Atlanta and New England game. I think one final thing, sorry, I've kind of gone off and kind of done a whistle-stop tour of all things offense here, but Tyler Croft, back in the offseason when we were doing our sneaky sleepers on offense, I called out Tyler Croft because of the way that they use the tight ends in this kind of offense. And I think he showed today he is a step up from Ryan Griffin and Dan Brown. That cut that he makes on his touchdown, if you go and watch it back, the way that he sells the outside route and then cuts up the seam and he doesn't have anyone around him, I think he is going to be so important for when Zach gets back, because we've spoken about having that easy target, that guy who can help, and he blocks better, he catches better, he runs routes better. He is just a much better tight end and is going to be, hopefully he can stay healthy. I know that's been one of the things he's struggled with throughout his career, is staying healthy. But if he stays healthy, it's going to be such an asset for this offense.
I really think so. And if even in an 11 formation, a 12 formation, he can play. Obviously he's going to be the main guy there, and having him fit and healthy would make a big difference to what they want to do at the tight end position. Obviously playing against his former team there, I'm sure he was happy to get that TD there. I just offensively, I kind of agree with everything you said. I thought, Ty Johnson did what he had to do. He also looked pretty good as well, and got Michael Carter is just that little bit more special in terms of the way he moves. It's just there's a difference between the two. But I thought Ty Johnson did what he had to do. He caught the ball out of the at the backfield well. At the offensive line, I agree with you. ABT was fantastic. I think to do all this without Corey Davis, which was an interesting thing. And I mentioned this. I was on the Bengals kind of stream before the Bengals UK stream before the game, and they asked about Corey Davis being out, and I said I don't think that's the reason the result's gonna be one way or another, because I just felt like the drop off towards where Corey Davis is. I don't think he's really being the number one. I think he's just another good option that we have, and I think we've plenty got with Mims and Crowder and Keelan Cole and Elijah Moore. It's just this is what we looked for when we looked at the offseason. We thought we're going to score some points. This is why we said that, because there's talent there, and if you maximize talent and you think of who you got in the backfield, and you just get the ball into the playmakers' hands, make them do it. There were so many times they got the ball out to them super fast. They beat a man, got for the first down. It just happened so often, and this is what we envisioned. This is what we saw going in, and what we thought might be happening. It's frustrating that we've had to go this many weeks, and we've had to wait till Zach's out for it to happen.
The Corey Davis one is really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I always thought this with Baker and Odell Beckham. When Odell Beckham was playing, he almost kind of overfed him. So obviously we'll never be able to decide one way or the other, but you have to wonder, was it to Mike White's benefit that Corey Davis didn't play, and he didn't kind of have that number one receiver, so he kind of felt more fluid about spreading the ball around a lot, and kind of hopefully that is something that can kind of rub off on the offense moving forward, is even once Corey Davis is back, we don't need to overfeed him. We don't need to force feed him, because he's not that kind of wide receiver who's like the top tier who can command all of those targets and kind of come down with them. And this offense is going to function so much better if we do spread the wealth around.
I think it's not just spreading the wealth. It's about the type of player that got involved today. If you think Mims replaced him, and Mims was the quietest out of all of those guys. If you think Moore, Crowder, Berrios, they were way more active in the game, and obviously and the running backs, of course, coming out of the backfield. It was because the game plan dictated that we got the ball near the line of scrimmage to them, whether it be on slants, on screens, on different types of plays that was in and around the near the line of scrimmage rather than down the field, which we obviously had a few, but it was more predominantly near the line of scrimmage, which takes Corey Davis out of things a little bit, in that if you think Corey Davis is in that position. So that's maybe why that everything was short, and so it didn't really it didn't, we weren't missing him, because it didn't, that's not where we needed the plays to be made, right? So for the game plan. So it is interesting with him probably coming back. We have to see how that injury's come along before the Colts game. Obviously it's a quick turnaround, so we'll see about that. But so yeah, it's definitely interesting to see where we go, and obviously now it's Mike White's performance is validated. The everyone's saying, oh, the Jets, they shouldn't have had this guy. Who's this guy? Mike White. This Mike who guy? This Mike, Mike White behind Zach Wilson. Well, yeah, of course he's inexperienced, and we definitely should have had another vet there to kind of give him some experience. Someone who has more experience than Josh Johnson, even though he's been around, he hasn't had that many snaps or much kind of game experience and moments to kind of share with with the young guys. But I think Mike White has shown that he has the ability to be a good backup, and at the very least, he has the ability. So, yeah, I think it was just a very nice thing to see us get down the field and get first downs, and it not seem like 10 yards is 100 yards, So it was a nice thing to see.
Yeah, I think hopefully the hope now has to be there's kind of twofold. You'd love to see Mike White kind of have a great game on Thursday. Continue this, but I don't think there's a quarterback controversy. I think Zach Wilson is the starter, is the future. But what will be interesting is just kind of taking the offense we saw today and then sprinkling in what we know Zach is so good at.
Oh, It could be
It
really special if you'd
it could
be able
be
to.
special. It'll be exciting, and I think that's going to be something to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the game plan. Draw people in on the short game, get them biting down to try and stop all this stuff near the line of scrimmage, and then just lash them down the field with what Zach Wilson can do down the field. It could really be difficult to manage, and this is the kind of game plan that is actually very difficult to manage if you've got someone who can do that. If so, it's up to Zach when he does come back to kind of be able to run these kind of shorter things because he did manage. He did struggle to do this right in terms of. We talked about the short game in the intermediate game where he was struggling. So if he can do that, and then we know what he can do down the field, that could be very, very special and some really great things to see down the line, especially as the schedule gets on paper easier after the Bills game. So yeah, we have to see about that, and hopefully, like I said, just keep playing competitive, keep throwing things at opponents, making things interesting, and just stay competitive, stay hungry to put points up, and you never know where it can go. And I think that's going forward. You want to see that in every game. I felt they just emptied the bag out a little bit more, and it was good to see that they actually were really going for the win. And trying to give it the all. And I just want to see it in every week. We've got nothing to lose. No one's job's, in risk. Even if you did some terrible stuff, it's not going to happen. The talent's too good. You're not going to lose every game. You've already shown that. The jobs are safe. Just let's give every game 100% of a go, and don't be scared to lose the games. So defensively, though, we'll go into the defense because they were from the first drive that the Bengals had where we got them. It was a 3 and out, or it was
3 and out on their
on the first drive. They just set the tone, and CJ Mosley,
CJ Mosley,
I
what a
mean,
guy!
I called, like I said, I called him out on the podcast, the Bengals podcast before, about how much of a difference he makes from what happened last week. And like you were saying before we recorded, that the this defense, really looks like it's a very much a linebacker led unit in terms of how important it is to have the linebackers in place, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we saw it in San Francisco, and it's come over to New York with Salah and Ulbrich. Is in this defense, the way that the Jets are running it, the linebackers are asked to cover an awful lot of ground, sideline to sideline in particular, as that kind of quick stop, particularly when defenses look to kind of attack the soft spaces under, because the cornerbacks and safeties sit quite deep in quarters or cover three. And it makes such a difference. CJ Mosley, not only is he kind of like the emotional, mental leader of this defense, we see that with the way that they line up and the way that he leads them, but his play on the field, his speed. I think this season is the lightest that he's ever played at linebacker in the NFL. I couldn't tell you exactly what he's coming in at, partly because I never really understood pounds to kilograms conversion, which is my bad. But he is so fast at flying to the ball. There was the one back when it was 7-0, and he Joe Mixon kind of went out into the flat and looked like for all the world he was just going to reach over and score the touchdown. And Mosley flies across in coverage. And you've got to remember, when he came from Baltimore, he was kind of regarded as a run-stopping linebacker. He wasn't bad in coverage, but it wasn't his forte. And he has just taken it to the next level. That play, getting out to Mixon, meeting him, wrapping his left hand around to stop Mixon being able to extend over the goal line and bringing him down away from the end zone is just so impressive. And there are just numerous plays like that. It was so good to watch. And I think that, coupled with Jared Davis, who quietly had a very impressive game today and kind of wasn't quite as prominent as Mosley, although that is a near impossible task to kind of replicate that. But he was so quick to the ball, particularly in the run game, and kind of shutting things down and making those tackles. This was the first time since like the 2018 season that we'd seen the New York Jets line up with both their starting linebackers in the team, and it was a massive difference maker for them compared to last week. These two guys are going to be so important for this defense for the rest of the year. They kind of play with the speed, the intensity, and they really set the tone for how we want to play. So I think as part of Salah's defense, Salah's structure, they are so important. I think it kind of was replicated up front. I think there were such timely sacks from people like Quinn and Williams on that early fourth down.
Yeah.
on the goal line stand. Sheldon Rankins on that kind of last Bengals drive where he kind of got through on that, was it 2nd and 11 and turned it into 3rd and 19? Because obviously in that situation, the Bengals are probably thinking 4 downs. But when you convert a sack like that, it really forces their hand, which is so important. So I thought D-line, great, impressive. Linebackers, impressive.
As Zuniga show up.
And this is the big win for Joe Douglas, is that we finally saw a Zuniga sighting.
Yeah.
And not just a sack, but a forced fumble as well. So I think,
I mean, it was a
good day.
It was great. You kind of the bend. He kind of got. It was just a great showing. He kind of burst off the edge, got that bend, and absolutely drilled Joe Mixon. You know, it was just it was like 92. Like, who's 92? Obviously, my mind goes to Leonard Williams, right? Lenny Williams. You're like, he was the last 92. Who's 92 now? And then I saw the replay. I was like, that's Zuniga, isn't it? I was like,
Zuniga sighting.
And I was like, no wonder the numbers, is a mystery to me, because he's been an absolute enigma and a mystery completely himself. So,
anonymous.
Yeah, so no, very, very, very good overall. It was just really, really good to see. I mean, you talk about CJ Mosley being fast and so sometimes there was one against with CJ Uzama where he got so fast to the sideline that he actually ran too fast and Uzama cut back and CJ Mosley went flying past him, So, yeah, he was playing with his hair on fire. I think it was a real, to see what happened last week with this young unit, without him there, he really is the head, the heart, and the engine of the defense. And
absolutely,
he's
the team MVP. So
far absolutely,
he's
absolutely
the team MVP. He should walk away with the Curtis Martin at Team MVP award.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you think Lawson being out, Carl Lawson, we're losing him for the season, I had worries about, replacing him and whether that was almost like the kind of the Jenga brick effect where he was going to be the effects. And I think to some extent, in some games it is. Without him there, we have struggled to have that dominant pass rusher that can really make a difference. But really, the real one is Mosley. I mean, the way he's been playing, and without him there, we just have to make sure that he does stay healthy for the rest of the season, because my God, that guy is just incredible in terms of how he gets everyone ready. It's just the night and day difference between the performance last week to this week. To go from losing to the Patriots, the way we lost to them, it wasn't just, you couldn't believe it if you went if you saw the Bengals and the Jets last week. If anyone, and then they go, okay, now predict the score. You couldn't guess it a million times that it was going to be the Jets winning.
It is frustrating that 2 of our worst performances have come against the Patriots, isn't
it? It's
always
always going to happen, isn't it? It's just typical.
Annoying, because I think they've been there for the taking this
season.
Yeah,
they are there for the taking. They're highly mediocre.
If you ever get trouble, we can just point out that so far the Patriots have only been able to beat the Jets and the Texans.
Yeah.
Whereas the Jets have beaten
the Bengals and the Titans. Exactly.
Chalk and cheese in terms of
the
kind of teams we're going up against.
But this shows you the ability the team has. On both sides of the ball, we have a lot of talent. It's just the youngest team with rookies at head coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, and quarterback. It's gonna happen. There's gonna be misconnects. And I've seen this multiple times. It's always somebody who messes up each play on the offense. It either is a drop pass, or it's Zach doing something stupid, or it's the lineman, one of the linemen getting blown up, or there's just so many mistakes where one person would ruin each play. And when we put it all together, you see the ability. And the defense has mostly been really, really good. I think the game plan took them out of things a little bit in London, and then last week was just something else. But those 4 first weeks, and then this one, you really see how good they're playing, how well they're playing for Salah, and how good they could be. So, no, it's just a weird game, one that we just have to sit back, enjoy, watch the replays again. I think I'm going to go back and watch the highlights again,
absolutely,
and then kind of catch the game film when it comes through. We're not going to have much time before we have to move on to the next one, but I think it'll be fun to watch these 2 games back to back in with the mini bye. But you just see what we can do. If we can beat this team, and I know the Bengals you probably speak to them and say, yeah, they could have done this better and they could have done that. And obviously there was that helmet to helmet call, which you hate to see when you're the defensive team, where the running back or receiver puts their
To be
helmet
honest,
down.
Andres, the Jets have had calls
No,
like that go against them
no, that's
so
what I'm
many
saying.
times.
I don't
So many
care.
times.
No,
I
I
do
don't
not
care,
care.
because you can
I'm
literally
enjoying
go to the
tears.
one, the Quincy, to go to the Quincy Williams one in London, or anything you want to say. I don't care. I'm just saying, on that incident, you hate to see that, as when you're a defender, that happens, where the defender goes in and the offensive player lowers his helmet and you get a call with that. But we deserve that. We have so many calls against us just this season alone. I had said that these things will go normally even themselves out, and that's one, But overall, just something great to enjoy. Great to let's not get involved in all the Mike White and Zach, because I really think that if you implement what we did today with what Zach can do, that is a recipe for a very explosive offense where we could be where the Bengals are, other than today. But even today, you saw they weren't on their best game, but you saw the power in that offense was there. Like they weren't quite right, but you saw the ability and why they've been so explosive. And I think we could really be there soon. It's very exciting to see that ability with the rest of the players without Zach there. And to think that if you implement, over Zach Wilson doing those things with a bit of experience, yeah, like it's just a really, really good thing to see. And you wouldn't have got these wins in the last 2 years. It's been not great, bit of a roller coaster, but these are the days where you go, we may have something here, right?
Baby steps, but this is now 4 straight weeks with the Jets scoring 2 touchdowns or more. Which who would have thought that back when we were looking at that kind of Adam Gase turgid 1 touchdown a week offense? And it is light and day. Just one final shout out that I think we've been remiss when we were talking about the defense. I think focused heavily on the front 7 because I thought they were so impressive today. But those rookie cornerbacks, they don't shy away from anything. Eccles in particular today, scrappy, feisty, handsy, doesn't look like anything's too much of a challenge for him. I mean, he was on Jamar Chase for that touchdown, but I think any cornerback on a broken play like that is going to have trouble dealing with Jamar. Michael Carter II is so gutsy, so fighty. I think these two are looking every bit the part at the moment.
And Hall, Hall got beat for that touch on that big throw to, what it looked like an incomplete pass. It was a great effort from Higgins to catch that over Hall, but the coverage was good. The play was incredible because the coverage from Hall was so good, and obviously actually should have been called back on that one. But I think Hall also looks really useful, and so no, it looks like some of these draft players that we got when you think of Hall last year, and then Eccles and Carter this year in terms of the draft. They may not be the best, but the value there in terms of what we're getting from those draft picks is incredible.
And that's how you build an NFL roster.
Yeah,
that's what it's about.
Exactly.
That's hopefully what we can build upon.
No, absolutely. I mean, these are the days where you can kind of look at the positives and say, this is what we can be. So how do we get like this more often? How do we get a consistent level where we can be close to this every single week and really be a trouble for teams on Sunday, because we haven't been for a lot of the weeks this year. But I think we've shown that if we turn up and we put things together, we can beat anybody or close to anybody. I mean, going into this game, the way the Bengals were playing, I guess you could say we could beat anybody if we put it together. So, yeah, I think it's we move on to the Colts game. We'll be recording, so this will come out on a Monday. Will be a quick turnaround. We'll get another podcast out, look for maybe a Wednesday release for the Colts one with a guest from Colts UK as well. So yeah, just looking forward to that game on Thursday night, and then we'll probably look to recap that game on our normal Friday show or something of that nature. We'll see how that goes, but it's going to be kind of a quick turnaround on all 3 shows. But what a great way to win and great way to kind of cap the weekend. So, Matthew, anything you want to say to the listeners before we head off?
No, just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Don't stress about these comparisons. Zach Wilson v Mike White, XVV. Just enjoy the win. Don't worry about any of the negativity, and we're looking forward to breaking down the Colts game coming up in the short week.
Absolutely. So guys, enjoy this, and we'll catch you in a couple of days.